Mayor, can we ask Mr. Roberts to come up here and sit beside you? Robert's Rules of Order.
I do need parliamentarian, like those that normally have it. Excuse me, and certainly from our country and our Lord. Can I ask that we stand for the pledge, for the prayer to be by Alderman Vestal, followed by the pledge by Alderman Berry.
Father, we stand before Thee with bowed heads and humbled hearts, and hope that You would guide our hands as we do this business of the city of North Little Rock. We would hope that You would guide those leaders who are responsible for the young men and women that are serving us overseas and protecting our freedoms. We would hope that You would protect those who are unable to protect themselves, and we would hope that You would watch over each and every one of us and with Your guiding and loving heart. Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I know why I got off track. Alderman Gibson was so rude in his defense of his entrance at the last council meeting that I decided to get about business, and so I certainly apologize to the mayor of the council.
So moved.
So moved.
Second.
Of the minutes of the previous meeting, any discussion on the motion to approve the minutes, Ms. Whitby?
Gibson?
Yes.
Yielding?
Yes.
Robinson?
Yes.
Thomas?
Yes.
Berry?
Yes.
Vestal?
Yes.
Height?
Yes.
And Witcher?
Yes.
And as I said a moment ago, I think it might be a good idea that we go through each of these items individually. So if you just read the first one by title, Ms. Whitby.
This communication from Bill Sowell. He's the chair of the Board of Commissioners for the Lakewood Recreational Improvement District. It's the letter from the Board of Assessors regarding the review of assessments each 5 years for each property within the district following the initial 15-year review, and it includes the years 2005 through 2009 recommendations.
Move accept and file.
Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. City Attorney, we don't take any action on this, do we?
Sorry, Mayor.
Okay. Well, I'm going to take Alderman Witcher's word for it, and you can tell us if we do it. Communication regarding the assessments of the Lakewood Improvement District. On the motion, wait, Alderman Witcher moved for accept and file. Is there a second?
I think.
On the motion?
Mayor,
I'm sorry.
This letter that came in later on, that all that says that this improvement district specialist has reviewed the investment roles, and they, in my opinion, they do not exceed the actual value of benefit received. So probably we need to amend this end to go with item 1 so it can be filed in a record.
Take that as a motion. And second on the motion to amend by adding the letter that's been presented to us, signed by an Alan King, to be a part of the record on this item number 1. Ms. Whitby, please call the roll.
Gibson?
Yes.
Yielding?
Yes.
Robinson?
Yes.
Thomas?
Yes.
Berry?
Yes.
Vestal?
Yes.
Height?
Yes.
And Witcher?
Yes. I move we accept and file as amended.
Is there a second on the motion?
Gibson?
Yes.
Yielding?
Yes.
Robinson?
Yes.
Thomas?
Yes.
Berry?
Yes.
Vestal?
Yes.
Height?
Yes.
And Witcher?
Yes.
Next item.
Communication number 2. It is a memorandum from Sharon Tedford of the Mayor's Office. It is regarding an application for a new retail beer off-premise license for Walmart Supercenter, number 1105 at 4450 East McCain Boulevard by Marty Joe Horner.
We accept and file.
Second.
On the motion?
Gibson?
Yes.
Yielding?
Yes.
Robinson?
Yes.
Thomas?
Yes.
Berry?
Yes.
Vestal?
Yes.
Height?
Yes.
And Witcher?
Yes.
Communication number 3 is from Joyce Stevens, President of the North Little Rock Friends of Animals. It's an invitation to a February 7th, 2004 dedication of the mobile adoption unit scheduled at Lakewood Village at 1 p.m.
Move adoption.
Motion made and seconded, and before I call for the vote, I'd again like to recall Alderman Witcher's comments a council meeting ago, where Mr. Grace, and I know he's in the audience, if not, he's in Annie room watching us on either us or Wally Hall, one of the two on TV. And we're certainly proud of what our animal shelter does and his leadership. I would encourage all of you, if you could, to join us on February 7th. That mobile adoption unit was purchased with the donation of a lady who willed a large amount of funds to the animal shelter for not only for the good work they do, but in benefit of this community. And this big piece of equipment's gone a long way in helping us provide homes for a lot of animals. So help us dedicate that, and I'd sure invite all the community to join us on Saturday, February 7th at 1 o'clock at Lakewood Village. On the motion?
Gibson.
Yes.
Yielding.
Yes.
Robinson.
Yes.
Thomas.
Yes.
Berry.
Yes.
Vestal.
Yes.
Height.
Yes.
And Witcher.
Yes.
Number 4.
Yeah, would you read that in full, please, Ms. Whitby?
Yes, sir. This is a letter dated January 26, 2004, to the members of the North Little Rock City Council. Dear council members, you will recall several years ago when this council supported requesting our Economic Development Corporation to participate in the funding of construction of the Greater Little Rock Chamber of Commerce building, presently located on the south side of Main Street Bridge. I continue to applaud the council and this community for understanding that economic development does not recognize municipal borders, but respects regional cooperation. This city enjoys an extremely productive relationship between city government and the North Little Rock Chamber of Commerce. I am sure that the council joins with me in confirming our excitement about the beginning of construction for our own Chambers building, located at the corner of Main and Washington on the north side of the Main Street Bridge. I am sure you agree with me that this building will serve as an important tool for economic development in our city, and its quality and beauty will be a source of pride for all of the citizens of this community. I am pleased to bring before this council a request asking that you join me in recommending to our EDC that they support our new chamber building in the amount of $50,000 a year for a 5-year period for a total contribution of $250,000. I am grateful that this council supported an increase in the budget of the EDC of $100,000 in addition to the $100,000 that was allocated in calendar 03 for our efforts toward economic development. I remain very pleased with the progress that we are making in both recruiting and retaining jobs in North Little Rock through the activity of the EDC in partnership with the North Little Rock Chamber, the Little Rock Chamber of Commerce, and the new Central Arkansas Economic Development Alliance. Additionally, the EDC, through the management and sale of other properties and the city's current level of funding, should be able to make this commitment with the city's continued support. Our North Little Rock Chamber will be holding its annual banquet this Thursday, and with your acceptance and filing of this letter, along with an indication of support for this request, I'm sure that the EDC's Board of Directors would join with the city in supporting our Chamber's new building at the level recommended in this letter. Let me thank you again for your continued support of our business community as the City Council's partnership remains crucial in helping us together to provide jobs for our citizens. Sincerely, Patrick H. Hayes, Mayor.
Move for adoption.
Second.
Recommendation. On the motion?
Gibson. Yielding.
Yes.
Robinson.
Yes.
Thomas.
Yes.
Berry.
Yes.
Vestal.
Yes.
Height.
Yes.
And Witcher.
Yes.
I want to thank the council again for its unanimous support. I see the president of the chamber, Terry Hartwick, is in the audience. Terry, if you want to come to the microphone and share a couple things with us. One, give us a picture of what we're building, and as what I indicated in our letter, very proud of. And then let us know about a few events that the chamber has been instrumental in being a part of. The microphone's yours.
Thank you very much, Mayor and Council. Nice to see y'all tonight, and thank you for your pledge of support. Also, what I'm trying to show you here, of course, is what that used to be, the old Square Deal Pawn Shop. If you can visualize that this tower, this would be coming across the bridge where the trolleys would be and everything. This would be Commerce Corner, Washington Avenue. This would be Main Street. What you can't see is the east side of our chamber, which will be all glass on the east side back over here. The reason for the all glass area, of course, is to overlook Centennial Park. The burn would be coming down Altel Arena, and of course that plaza would be something we're very proud of. We'll have an east entrance and, of course, what we call west or Main Street entrance to our chamber. Our chamber, of course, will house 5 to 7 employees. We've got 5 now and 2 part-time. Upstairs, of course, is a multi-purpose. This is a 9,000 square foot building with 4,500 downstairs and another 4,500 upstairs for multi-purpose. We're very proud of what we're trying to take in this area. We've taken what I think the mayor would say is an old building that's at our foot of our Main Street Bridge, and we're going to make it something that all of you, the city, and even all the businesses, the citizens are going to be very, very proud of. The type of construction will take approximately about 120 days to 150 days. I know that Mr. Larson, Economic Development's already got a book for Economic Development Program on the 3rd of June, so we'll be hurrying up for that. With that, We'll have a tower that shows more or less, we're not going to be advertising it, but what we will be doing is showing a lot of things such as new members on it. It'll also show maybe Pulaski Tech orientation days in North Little Rock, and a lot of things we're very proud of, such as maybe last week the Battle of the Border that we just had, where we brought in approximately 4,000 to 5,000 people from Tennessee to play the Arkansas teams. Also, be a lot of communications going on as far as the upstairs, what we call Autel Overlook. There's a balcony on that back side that'll be available for reunions and anniversaries and maybe conventions and things like that, where people where they're having a tough time to find places for their meetings and stuff. In fact, we were at a meeting not too long ago where a lot of us was jam-packed in a room across the river, and we could have been very easy to station our own Chamber of Commerce. So we're very proud to have this. We're very proud to be able to show support, and I'm sure all of y'all will be very proud of what we're trying to do with our downtown North Little Rock situation. Any questions I might answer for you, and I'll turn this around so maybe the people in the audience can see it. Yes.
Alderman Thomas?
When do you plan to begin?
I talked to the architect today, Mr. Thomas. Architect's drawings and figures, as you know, should be in by the middle part of this week. I told him Thursday was my deadline. To start construction, I talked to Barry High today, and he looks forward to starting approximately the first full week in February.
So we'll be open when?
June. I've got it, like I say, Todd's back here. We're hoping to be ready to go June 3rd. It's 120 days, but as you know, talking to contractors, they promise a lot, but we're looking for June 3rd. Is that what we're talking about?
We like to see things going up on Main Street. We appreciate the Chamber and what it does, and we look forward to continuing to work toward accomplishing your mission, and thank you for your leadership and partnership.
Can I borrow a little bit more of your time, please, the Council
Sure.
Mayor? Todd? Here he is right behind me. As you know, the Chamber of Commerce went after what we call the state basketball championships. And with that, we'd like to show everybody that this is what we've adapted to what we call Road to the Rock. And I know Sue's very influential in making sure North Little Rock is going to get there this year. We're hoping that we'll see, and we're very confident we'll see approximately 25,000 people coming from all over the state of Arkansas into our region this year. Road to the Rock is the finals of the state high school basketball championships. Of course, the North Little Rock High School just got the 5A basketball championship. So that 2-week period from, I guess, the beginning of March to about the middle of March, you might say we're the basketball capital of Arkansas right here. We're very proud to let you know, Mayor, we got this frame for you. We hope you'll hang it and take care of it, and know that we'll be putting on an event that I think all of you will be very, very, very proud of. I like to say it's been 9 years, I guess, since everything has been back to North Little Rock, or I should say this region. Before, when Pat, of course Pat's a lot older than I am, the mayor is a lot older than I am, but when we were kids, we would all go to what we called back then Barton Coliseum to see the state high school basketball championships. And of course those days have passed. It went to Conway, then it's been at Pine Bluff for about the last 10 years, I believe. And they had a bid this last spring, June, where it was either going to go to Pine Bluff, Hot Springs, and believe it or not, we won on a 4th ballot total, kind of a runoff. So we're very proud to bring that back to the region in North Little Rock at Autel.
Well, and I know how active you were personally involved in that effort, and certainly want to compliment you. I remember going out to the Activities Association
Yes.
that day, and I don't think any of us felt that it would be a 4-ballot issue. And I can imagine that, that I would dare say that your hair is a little bit grayer than
And thinner, as you always say. He's always making fun of my thin hair. But anyway, go ahead, Mayor. I'm sorry.
That's all right. But certainly with your enthusiasm and efforts, I know you came to me long before that in wanting to carry the basketball down the road, and now we have it back in Central Arkansas, and we're proud that North Little Rock's its host, Autel Arena, and we know that there'll be a lot of excitement during that period of time. So we encourage everyone to enjoy that. We'll have that down in the lobby of City Hall to let folks know when it's going to be, and enjoy some good basketball, and come to the North Rock.
Thank you.
One more question.
Yes, Olin.
Are we going to be able to help the people down at Jackson Cookie Company that lost their jobs? Are we going to?
Yes, while the mayor was out, we briefed, of course, Mr. Larson, Economic Development. We had what we call a instrumental question-answer period. We brought the state government in, the federal government in, and what their issues were is to answer questions about, first off, their pay. Were they going to get some pay? And then when they had received pay, those checks had already been bouncing on them. Along with that, their 401 plans, Mayor and the council. Also along with that is vacation pay they have not received. So what we did the first 2 hours of that morning that we held at the History Commission is we answered a lot of their questions. Health insurance, if you can't imagine, their health insurance is completely just gone out the window. So there's a lot of questions these people had. There was almost everyone, I think we counted a little over 100, is that right, Mr. Larson? And well over 100, and most everybody came that went to Jackson Cook County. After that, we had a job fair. Approximately 10 companies came, and I believe, and I've called around, most everybody hired 4 to 10 employees. I got a call today from Tyson Foods. They could be hiring 20, and there was also a company from Pine Bluff who was going to hire anybody who wanted to make the trip, and most of those jobs were from management positions all the way down. So to answer your question, along with economic development and the chamber, we feel like we've given everybody the opportunity to find a job, and also what I like is that also the opportunity to further their education. Pulaski Tech was there and was offering scholarships to these people who'd like to attend. So to answer your question, most everyone was available to get a job, to talk about a job. And that's pretty well what we thought we'd try to do, is we thought we'd just jump in. I don't think a lot of cities, a lot of economic developments, a lot of chambers will got involved. They just said, well, we feel your sorrow and left it laying, but we jumped in, and almost everybody was very, very happy with what we did. Any questions on that?
We again appreciate it, and thanks for being here. We look forward to Thursday night. I think they're going to have. Are there any tickets left for your banquet?
I can always find a ticket. For those who would like to come, I think you'll like. We've got Asa Hudson, the Undersecretary of Homeland Security, talking about how Homeland Security and business works hand in hand, how it affects your business. So that would be approximately about 6:30, 7 o'clock on Thursday. Usually get everybody out there by about 8:30, Mayor. Thank you very much.
If you need any tickets, where do you call, Mr. Hartwick?
372-5959. Call the Chamber of Commerce. We'll be glad to help
Join
you.
us. There'll be a lot of fun, a lot of enjoyment, and Thursday night at the Wyndham.
Thank you, sir. No, sir, Alltel. We're too big for the Wyndham now.
Alltel.
Yes, sir. We're on the Alltel, and we're on the bottom floor there. Right now, we've got approximately 750 people coming. So
Look forward to a good night.
One more thing. This is the 20th year anniversary of this chamber when it got reestablished. There'll be a lot of those people that started the chamber be introduced that night, Mayor, along with yourself, of course. So be a lot of good old faces that you haven't seen and a lot of good times. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
The good news and bad news about Alltel is that there's no ice.
There's no ice this year.
So
The
our
women's
feet
feet will
won't
be
freeze.
nice and warm. Yeah,
But
that's the
bad
good
news
news.
is there's no hockey team there.
No hockey, but yeah. But almost all the ladies last year kept. We put carpet down, but their feet still froze. I can see Connie laughing. Thank you very much, sir.
Take care. Thank you. Next item of communication.
Number 5, did you want it read or by
Please.
title?
No, I think we need to read it.
Okay. This is a letter dated January 26, 2004, members of the North Little Rock City Council regarding the Arkansas Game and Fish Nature Center. Dear council members, almost 2 years ago, you authorized me to offer approximately 3 acres that the city had recently acquired on the Arkansas River located downriver from the I-30 bridge to the Arkansas Game and Fish Commission in order to locate one of the 4 regional nature centers that they committed to the state to build during a statewide campaign asking for an increase in Arkansas state sales tax. This offer has remained open and available for the Game and Fish Commission to accept during the entire time from and after it was being made. In early 2002, a great deal of discussion was had by the Arkansas Game and Fish Commission about relocating the Central Arkansas Nature Center to the southwest Little Rock to be close to a commercial retail shopping center that was to house a Bass Pro Outdoor Center. As you know, Bass Pro has selected to locate in its Central Arkansas facility in a new retail shopping complex in North Little Rock known as the Shops at North Hills, and the developer of this complex has offered a part of their development to the Arkansas Game and Fish Commission for their nature center. Over the last several months, the Commission has indicated that it was considering only 3 sites for their location. They were continuing to consider the southwest Little Rock site along with the North Little Rock riverfront site, as well as the site located adjacent to the Shops at North Hills. In fact, a study was commissioned that reviewed these 3 sites, and a professional recommendation was made to the Commission. I appeared last month before the Commission and supported both the city site as well as the Shops at North Hills site. I'm sure you are aware that the City of Little Rock last week offered some of their real estate and that the Game and Fish Commission appears to have accepted their offer, subject to the city fulfilling certain representations made in a letter sent by the City of Little Rock to the Commission. This city, through its council, is very proud of our river frontage, acreage, and over the last several years, I've had several expressions of interest about the possible utilization of our real estate. I've continued to indicate to the Game and Fish Commission that we would wait for them to make a final decision on their site selection. However, in light of the action taken by the Commission last week, I feel that this city should wait no longer for the Commission to act. Too many opportunities have come and gone, and I am sure there are those that we may not be able to take advantage of if we continue to hold our property available while an additional evaluation is being made concerning another new site which just appeared last week. Therefore, I'm asking the Council to support my request in authorizing me to notify the Arkansas Game and Fish Commission that we are withdrawing our offer for them to use the 3-acre site owned by the City of North Little Rock on the north bank of the Arkansas River. However, I would like to underline what I feel would be the city's strong support for the Commission to locate its nature center adjacent to the shops at North Hills and its premier retailer, Bass Pro, in North Little Rock. If in the future the Commission should fail to select the site at the shops at North Hills or either of the 2 Little Rock sites, and this city has not made any commitments with regard to our 3-acre site, then I would intend to consult with the Council about whether we would be interested in again offering any of our property for consideration. Let me thank you again for your active interest in supporting development in our community. I remain sincerely Patrick H. Hayes, Mayor.
Move for adoption.
Second.
Take appropriate action.
Motion made to accept and file and take appropriate action, which I would intend would be a letter communicating to the Game and Fish Commission the consent of this council to follow through with those recommendations. And I do take those recommendations that Alderman Berry just made in not only withdrawing the river site, but underlying the next to last paragraph, or the third to the last paragraph, that we would support and continue to support the location of the nature center at the shops at North Hills. So it essentially is a two-prong, not in any way trying to diminish our side of the river, but taking what I think is a prudent action at this time, yet remaining strongly in support of the north side at the shops at North Hills. Any comments or discussion on the motion, Ms. Whitby?
Gibson?
Yes.
Yielding?
Yes.
Robinson?
Yes.
Thomas?
Yes.
Berry?
Yes.
Vestal?
Yes.
Height?
Yes.
And Witcher?
Yes.
Now, before we go to the agenda, let me recall an executive order that I adopted, drafted and put into effect with regard to the requirement of wearing seat belts. Wearing seat belts not only in any city vehicle, but any place where any seat belt that the city had was in existence, whether it be a bulldozer or a backhoe or wherever they existed. And in large measure, in fact, in total measure, was in response to an extremely sad event that occurred in our city in December, where a young man was killed, and while no one knows for sure, he was not wearing a seat belt. I know Ms. Lee Lynch and Roz Newton are here. Kick It for Kyle was a campaign that was begun very shortly after Kyle's death, and I know that they had asked to come and make a comment or two. I know several comments were made that night that were very moving, and I'm very certain that Kyle's death did not occur in vain because of the actions that are being taken by the campaign Click It for Kyle. So the microphone.
Thank you. Mayor Hayes, North Little Rock Alderwoman and Alderman, we thank you so much for allowing us to be here, and we are here to thank you so much for your support of our seatbelt education program. It was because of a young man, Kyle Boland's death on November 23rd. Kyle was a West Campus junior. It was because of his death that we felt the need to educate the public about the importance of wearing a seatbelt. And on December 4th, 2003, we had a candlelight vigil. This evening would have been Kyle's 17th birthday, and Mayor Hayes was there that evening, and it was a wonderful evening, and the mood was great. And it was important for us to realize that this loss could possibly prevent the loss of another young person or another person if we just got together and decided to let people know how important it was to wear a seatbelt. We appreciate so much your support and your mandate that all city vehicles must have a seatbelt in use. And to thank you and show our appreciation for your support, we have a Click It for Kyle baseball cap for each one of the aldermen and women and the mayor. And when you are in your ward and in the city of North Little Rock, we hope that you would wear them and show your constituents your support of wearing a seatbelt and the importance that goes with it. And we thank you so very much. And we just ask each of you to remember to click it for Kyle.
We sure appreciate it, and it's it's something that you had to be there to recognize how strong people felt about that young man and about his life, and how important it was for all that his life continued to have meaning, and I'm sure that this city, this community, certainly this council are very appreciative of what y'all do, and let us know what else we can do. We'd certainly like to try to support your efforts financially. So
that's a good thing.
We'll let us visit with you, and we'll see how we can do that. But we would very much like to do that. I know maybe it was you that commented about how there were 4 or 5 children that died. Was that?
It was Pris Benson at the
Pris?
evening candlelight vigil, yes.
Well, she commented how in her 32, 33 years as a teaching career that she had the unfortunate happenings that I think 5 of her students passed away during her career, and that of those 5, 4 did not all were automobile accidents, I believe, but 4 that of the 5 that passed away were not wearing seatbelts, which to me was a pretty saddening and sobering statistic. So we know Kyle is up there, and we know that he is inspiring us. He certainly is going to save a lot of lives, and not only this community, hopefully this state. We thank y'all for being here.
And I just want to make a comment that I think we as adults taking this step has really influenced the kids in North Little Rock. And I know that there are a lot of campaigns out there, but we seem to have an edge here. We have personalized it, and we have a phrase that really makes you want to develop the habit, because a lot of kids are clicking it for Kyle. And I have had so many, Roz and I have had so many calls from people around the city that have said, you don't know what an impact it's made. So we just feel really, really good about this, and we think we can take this campaign and even make a further difference. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. The only thing that I might add to that is I'm not going to make any admissions because it's against the law for not wearing your seatbelt, but there's one person that's up at this council chambers table that clicks regularly now that didn't before. So
thank you.
Thank y'all very much, and we tip our hats to you. With that, I think we're ready to go to the regular council agenda.
Mayor Hayes.
Oh.
Public hearing. I'd like to request one for the next city council meeting.
Okay. On.
The Argenta neighborhood, the historic group, would like me to sponsor an ordinance to enforce the guidelines for the historic district. That's no parking on the grass in the front yard for the historic district. So I'd like to have a public hearing at the next city council meeting to get the neighbors' input and give them an opportunity to speak.
If I understand what you're saying, and let me make sure I'm correct, is that the Argenta Historic District is interested in asking this council, perhaps Alderwoman Robinson, to sponsor legislation that would prohibit parking of vehicles in front yards.
On the grass.
And that you intend to introduce some legislation to that effect, but that you are going to have a public hearing on that to have input from people about what they feel that might whether they support or oppose it
Right, at the next city council
at
meeting.
the next
if at
city
all
council meeting. City Attorney, Mr. Susky.
Yes, Mayor. Obviously, I believe legislation has been filed before on this issue. I do have some concern to limit it to a historic district alone, considering I don't know what the historical value of parking a car in one neighborhood versus another. I'll research that and look at that. I think clearly you could regulate it, which was presented once before to the City Council. Now, whether it can be done in a historic district, under a historic district ordinance, I'll take a look at it because I'm not sure what the historical ramifications are of parking a car in a
I think right now there's some guidelines in place, and the legislation would just more or less enforce the guidelines.
One of the things you might look at, in terms of historic district, I know there's a requirements in terms of, how you can construct and preserve the aesthetic and the facades of the building. It might very well be, that preserving that visual aspect of the community is important enough that a historic district might have some additional abilities to prohibit that kind of intrusion on the visual aspects of the neighborhood. I don't know.
We'll take a look at that.
And so, essentially, Alderwoman Robinson, unless there's objection, we'll call a public hearing at 7:05 to discuss, what people, and I would imagine it'd be principally within the district, feel about restricting, if possible, the ability to park vehicles in front, on their property, in front of their...
On the grass.
On their grass, in front of their property.
They have a driveway, they do it.
Well, they have a concrete driveway, sure, they can park on the, but what we're talking about is on the grass. Right.
Without objection, that'll be done, and then perhaps, Mr. City Attorney, if you can work with Ms. Robinson to see what, if anything, we might be able to do in the district with regard to that, then I would assume, she may decide she wants to sponsor something like that.
Mayor,
Alderman?
could we call on Mr. Baxter for a quick presentation?
Sure we can. Mr. Baxter, you got something for us, I understand. All right, and you, I'm sure you want to let us know, who helped us get this.
Yes, sir. Senator Marianne Salmon came to our commission meeting at 4:15 this afternoon and brought us a check for $156,545. Miss Senator Salmon came to our open house the very first day, realized the need for additional state assistance and the money that had been promised to us and hadn't quite made it to us yet. This is another installment on that. We have another, she thinks, another check coming in the same amount later. She said with the help of Senator Steele and Representative Dobbins, she was able to get this money for the city of North Little Rock. And so she came and presented to the commission, and I'd like to take this opportunity to give it to Mr. Sisson, and he can put it in the bank where he needs it most. So,
the very public way to record the transfer of funds, Baxter. So it's out of your hands now, but we certainly thank you and the commission, for the quality product that we have down there. We've taken, the investment that the state now is a bigger partner, along with, I believe, Senator Huffman was instrumental in helping us get the original allocation of $700,000 in that neighborhood. So this gets the state more close to the $1 million that they had indicated, $1.2 million that they had indicated that they were going to support. And because of budget constraints problems, we're short, and now that shortfall, with the help of Senator Salmon and Senator Steele, along with Dobbins, and I'm sure Stephen Bright, and Jay Martin, Representative Martin, all assisted in this. But we sure appreciated Senator Salmon's leadership. Tell us where we are now.
We're at 5,725 members now, and a little over 4,000 of those are residents of North Little Rock, and the remaining 1,680 or so are residents of Sherwood, Little Rock, Conway, and all the way to California. And we have 2 members from California.
They come very often?
They don't come very often, no. But they did pay their $100, so. But we're enjoying the center, and we have the first Monday after the first of the year, we had our biggest day of 746 people in one day. So we're really having a big time down there.
How's our weekend use?
We had 180 last Saturday and about 85 last Sunday.
Can we spend that money any way the council wants to?
You'll have to speak to Mr. Sisson and the mayor about that.
I mean, is there strings attached to it?
I think it was for the building itself, for the construction of the building.
If I recall, I believe we had in the budget of the financing arrangement, 1.2 million from the state. And I'm not sure how much this makes, Bob.
We have received about 800,000, and this will make 950,000 that we've received of that $1.2 million. Okay. So the city has advanced enough to make up for this to build a building.
Anything else?
I guess the reason I ask, I know we have some funds that Senator Steele wants to spend in certain areas, and we'll be coming into that pretty soon too.
Well, we sure look forward to continuing partnership with the state. We thank our delegation for helping us do that. Mr. Baxter, come back up for one other question. I understand that that we're replacing the floor for the third time.
Yes, sir.
And that you project will be completed in the very near future. I would think that we feel pretty good about our contractor. They seem to have been fairly punctual, even though this has been a problem that they've had to live with on the third time for our floor. One, would you tell me if your timing on the floor, and secondly, should we pat our contractor on the back for being diligent? I know you've got another construction project that's either in progress or about to be down there too. So would you hit those 2 points?
Yeah, we're about to start with the expansion of the women's locker room. We have only 30 lockers or so in the men and women's space, and we'll have on any given Monday, Wednesday, Friday, we'll have 40 women trying to get in those 30 lockers at 9 o'clock and 40 more at 10 o'clock trying to get in the same locker space. So we're expanding that and putting 42 more lockers in a smaller area that's a storage room, and we're quite pleased with the progress on that. And we should have that done by the end of March, somewhere between mid-February and the end of March. Contractor has been very diligent. The floor has been a big problem. They were punctual in coming over. Alessi Keys serviced that floor as it began to have problems. They came over. They worked on it, I suspect, 15, 18 times that they came over trying to make sure we didn't have any trip hazards, knowing pretty soon after we started having problems with it, the floor would have to be replaced. They came back in and we negotiated with them to take the month of January and remove the floor and put the new floor back down. And they met that deadline. They are about, with the entire floor, demolition and putting the new floor back, they're about 2/3 finished with getting the new floor back in place. That means they're about 75% to 80% complete with the project. I expect they'll be finished either tomorrow afternoon or sometime Wednesday with having the floor back in. It will be a floating floor rather than the glued to the concrete floor that was there with the first two floors. The first one had to be replaced because the workmanship from the subcontractor wasn't quite what we expected with the joints that went together. The second floor had to be replaced because there was something wrong with either the glue or the expansion of the concrete in the building. And now the third floor will be a floating floor. It will lay on top there and won't be adhered to the concrete itself, so the concrete can move separately from the flooring. And it's a beautiful product and has a 25-year warranty with a Teflon finish, and we think it'll be a good product. And we expect
wear it out, Mr. Baxter.
We want to wear it out and put another one in, don't we? But contractor's doing a good job.
Thank you.
Thanks.
I think we're ready to go to the amendment.
Resolution 0402, Mayor Hayes.
Please call it.
A resolution reducing the assessment of benefits for a certain parcel of land in the Counts Massey Collins Road Municipal Improvement District Number 1, removing a parcel from the assessment rolls.
Let's get a motion.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Then we got an amendment.
What's our amendment?
Yes, Mayor, in whereas number 3 in section 1 where it says parcel number 5, we need to be exact as to the parcel number. So on whereas 3 in section 1, parcel number 5 needs to be parcel number 43N-001-00-005-00. And in section 2 where it says parcel number 50.
Hold on a second. Ms. Whitby got that?
Yes,
She
sir.
has those.
Okay.
This goes in the first whereas and
In the first section, and on section 2 where it says parcel 55, number 55, it should be number 43N-00-00-014-00. And I gave those to Ms. Whitby in advance.
Okay with you, Mr. Thurman?
That's exactly right.
Was there a motion to amend? Did I hear that? Is there a second?
So moved.
Second made and seconded on the motion to amend. Ms.
Gib-
Whit-
Gibson,
yes.
Yielding,
Yes.
Robinson,
Yes.
Thomas,
Yes.
Barry,
Yes.
Vestal,
Yes.
Height,
Yes.
and Witcher.
Yes.
How about a motion to adopt as amended, and then I'll...
Second.
Motion made and seconded.
Question?
State your question.
I was going to get Mr. Thurman to explain what's happening here.
Basically, we, after we left, Mr. Fitzgerald and I had a long discussion, and this is the result. We ended up, and I polled all my commissioners, and they all agreed that they wouldn't oppose a reduction by the council. The commission didn't have the authority to do it, the council does, so we're letting the council reduce his assessment by 50%.
So everybody's happy.
Everybody's happy.
And the city of North Little Rock is taken out of the tax roll.
Yes.
On the motion.
Gibson,
Yes.
Yielding,
Yes.
Robinson,
Yes.
Thomas,
Yes.
Barry,
Yes.
Vestal,
Yes.
Height,
Yes.
and Witcher.
Yes.
Motion carries. Are we finding something?
No, he just wanted to make sure we put the parcel numbers in there.
the right parcel number.
It's, we used it off of the roll that's filed with the city clerk. So,
All right, if we find out we did something wrong, we'll come back and correct it, but everybody seems to think this is the right parcel number, Mr. Fitzgerald.
Yeah.
We appreciate your diligence, and Mr. Thurman, we appreciate your willingness and the district's willingness to try to reach an accommodation.
and Thursday, we ought to hire an underwriter, and we ought to be ready to go as soon as the weather turns good.
Let's see things being built out there. We're pleased. Next item,
Resolution 0403, Mayor Hayes.
please call it.
A resolution authorizing the mayor to send a letter in support of Rich Smith Development, LLC, for the development of low-income modular housing.
Can I get a motion?
I'll make the motion, because I've got a couple of amendments to make. At least
All right,
one.
is there a second?
Second.
Let's go ahead and deal with your amendments. Is anybody representing Richard Smith Development here? Y'all want to come up to the microphone? Mr. Alderman Gibson, you want to deal with the...
Well, the amendments I had, and it's the ones I've told everybody about along the way, is that, number one, and they've agreed to take, that it's not going to be a modular housing complex.
Yeah, that was a mistake.
Number A, that it be a planned unit development, that the percentage of low income not to exceed 80%, and that the city council, as part of this PUD, know exactly what the exterior finish of these properties. And that would have to be that would be attached to the letter, as because the PUD, obviously they can't get in at this point.
And I know, Mr. Susky, I know we've raised this issue this morning, and I'd ask you to take a look at how we might deal with this kind of a desire of the council should we adopt it, and we adopt it with these concerns.
Yeah, so Martin is correct. This is just a resolution saying that it's supported, and then whenever they will come back with the necessary legislation to build or to require the city council adopt an ordinance, there would be a planned use development so that they would have to build what they say that they're going to build. But I do not have that amendment written up yet.
All
Martin
right.
just told me about it. Hold on.
You want to go ahead and pass those around? go ahead and introduce yourselves, and then make any comments that you'd like, and then if the council would like to ask any questions before we take any action, then I believe it's Mr. Keith Richardson.
That is correct.
Keith, if you want to step to the microphone.
Yes.
Yeah, I want to before I do this, I want to let folks know that I was with Keith's wife at about 6:30 this morning.
Right now.
And she's going to add to the population. You will add to the population of the city of Little Rock with his son in the near future. Well, first of all, congratulations on that, and now the microphone's yours.
We appreciate it. What we're trying to do is build a 48-unit apartment complex at Scenic Hill with a clubhouse. It's going to be a very nice complex. The apartments are about 80% brick, 20% vinyl, which will be long-lasting. We're going to build a clubhouse with a pool, fitness room, with a picnic area for the kids, playground for the kids. It'll be fenced in with the play area for the kids. And we've got several projects around the state under construction right now. 2 of them actually are open. And we think it'd be a good addition for North Little Rock, and we're certainly willing to answer any questions that you may have.
And who is your...
I'm the other half of Smith. I'm R.B. Smith.
Right. Any questions from any council member? With your amendments, I'm sorry, Alderman Berry?
Yeah, I got a question.
Real quick, everyone's understanding is not modular. That was a mistake.
Yeah,
They're strictly stick-built.
I understand that.
Yes, sir.
Do you ever do any 60-40?
I'm sorry?
Do you ever do any 60-40?
80-20 is about the biggest mix that we've done.
The reason why is because this is in my ward, and I've said for a long time I wouldn't do an 80-20, and I still stand pat on that because I believe that the mix should be a little bit bigger, and 60-40 I think is a better number for me, and I know we have the need for it. It's a good looking project, but I just truly believe that what we've been inundated with in the city for the last 2 years, that I'd like to see a higher percentage of market rate apartments.
We've got almost 20 acres basically under contract that we're going to purchase, which is possible. To do the development and the financing of the tax credits, the financiers that buys the tax credit has a real problem when you go more than 20% on the market rate. We've got 3 projects this year. We had to back away. At one point, we had 28 to 29% market rate to be able to get our financing. We had to push it back down to 20%.
One of the things, and I certainly acknowledge Alderman Berry's concern. I look at several things, and I support this project. I look at the quality of the development. I look at the location. I certainly look at the amenities and recognize that as we are becoming very aggressive in our code enforcement area, as we work toward trying to clean up the city, that at some points we are forcing people out of what has been substandard or challenged rental, and while I know that concern is something that is on everyone's mind. I certainly support this project, and I would hope that the council would provide for quality homes like that for some of our citizens who are somewhat more challenged economically. So I just wanted to add that little postscript.
And also, Mr. Berry, if you're aware, I have done a 96-unit strictly market rate that's also in North Little Rock on Maumelle Boulevard, and there will eventually be 384 units that is strictly all market rate. So it's not like that we don't do just tax credit units or low-income housing. We do a mix.
I understand that, but this is in the 3rd ward, and we already have a lot of tax credit units in
but
the 3rd ward already.
Well, that was your ward, too.
Right, it is. And then also, most of the ones has been either rehabs, but this is new construction, which I think would be a great addition for that area.
Alderman Height?
Is Mr. Butler in the audience? Mr. Butler? Mr. Butler delivered this packet to my house one day last week, and I specifically asked him out in front of my home if this was 80-20 or 60-40. Did you not tell me it was 60-40?
If I did, I apologize.
because I had, I remember discussing that with you about what the ratio was going to be, and you had informed me that it was 60-40. And then
I have, and if I did, I was in error.
Okay. The other statement or question that I have is that 80-20 is have we not caused a lot of residents in this city to vacate their properties because of that were low rate? I mean, below market rate.
No.
Is there not a big demand out there for below market rate? There is in this
One
city.
thing about it that's a misconception is the apartments we're building right here on the 80-20 is the exact apartments that we're building market rate. Be it in Texarkana, be it Maumelle, it's exact units. It's just a financing technique, and we cater to basically people that make 60% of the median income.
Okay.
That's the only difference at all in the apartment complex, whether it's a market rate or it's a tax credit unit, period. From a visual standpoint, you can't tell any difference at all.
But we have a lot of people in North Little Rock that need a place to live, such as this. Is that correct?
Absolutely.
I would think that this investment would be made if there wasn't a need.
We're basically going to spend $4.5 million. We've done a thorough market study that will show the need not only for the apartment complexes in the area, also the need for the low income, for the 60% median income that we're catering toward.
Do you have any plans down the road to possibly put in a market or above market rate
At that area,
complex?
absolutely, because we've got almost 20 acres. I don't think that area can handle on 20 acres just the tax credit. At some point, I think we will add more market rate units, especially with the VOTEC or the tech expanding in the way they are.
Thank you.
This is adjacent to Pulaski Tech, if I
It's
understand
right
you
across the street. That's correct.
Alderman Vestal.
Mayor, is there any way that the student at that school that would be financially able to meet the 80% criteria?
The IRS
would
has a
get
real strict.
first choice?
I'm sorry.
Would get first choice
On the market rate, that's certainly a possibility.
on the 80% of the below market rate.
The IRS has strict guidelines as far as who qualifies. There is a specifics about the students, whether they qualify or they can't qualify.
You know what that is?
I'm sorry, go ahead.
You know what that is?
Yes, Arby's telling me a part-time student can qualify, yes, with a full-time job.
And Mayor, I think that's one of the things when we looked at this, or when I looked at it, because I have changed my mind, obviously, at the very start of this project, because I had the same attitude that we've had all along. But as you look at, it's one thing when someone is remodeling some units, they have to move people out. And this is a total different situation. They're building one that looks just like a market rate apartment, except it's not. A full-time student cannot move into any of these low-income units. They can't move into Argenta Square. They can't move into any of those.
That's correct.
But a part-time student, of which a great number of Pulaski VOTEC students are, with a full-time job, can qualify to move into this. It's on the bus route. It's right by the VOTEC. And that's two great things. And when you look in you don't have to look very far to see that Pulaski VOTEC continues to explode as far as population is concerned. And the state's not going to allow dormitories to be built up there. I mean, that's just a battle that Conway beats on every time that there's a session of the legislature and it comes up, and they just aren't going to allow dorms there. So the opportunity for a person to further their education, work in a city that, thanks to our chamber and a lot of other, there's a good job market here for service jobs that allows them to work different kind of hours other than the traditional 7 to 3 or 8 to 5. And having been a student who worked his way all the way through college, I understand that. So I support the project with the amendments that we have that I will offer or have in the process of offering.
Yeah, I got another question.
Yes, sir.
On below market rate finance, now, until that financing is over with, then you pay the loan off, right?
Correct.
Once you pay the loan off, then you can go to market rate housing.
No, we're bound. Is it 35? Yeah, extended use period is 35 years, so it's a long time.
35 years?
Yes.
Any other questions?
Just one statement. The units at Le Marquis, which are in deplorable condition, they're being redone as we speak. Those units are 42 years old. And that was market rate housing when it went in. And it got converted over, and it took about 15 years for those structures up there to look like something you might see in a ghetto somewhere, or worse. And I don't know if that area up there can stand 35 years worth of below market housing in that vicinity.
Can I add one thing? After 15 years, we can go back to Arkansas Department of Finance and get additional tax credits after year 15 to rehab them, to make them back in a new condition again. And that is our goal. That's our intent.
Again, and I'll go ahead. Are your amendments, Alderman Gibson?
Those are my amendments, but I'll let the city attorney put them into the real words.
Okay.
That at the end of section 1, first of all, the modular word is stricken. At the end of section 1, a new sentence is added that says that this authorization is conditioned upon the property being developed as a planned use development. Unit development, that the development shall not exceed 80% low income, and that the exterior finish shall be constructed as shown in Exhibit A.
Which is this photograph.
That's correct. And we're certainly fine with that.
Is there a second to that motion?
Second.
On the motion?
Gibson?
Yes.
Yielding?
Pass.
Robinson?
Yes.
Thomas?
Yes.
Barry?
Yes.
Vestal?
Yes.
Height?
Yes.
And Witcher?
Yes.
Now do I have a motion to adopt as amended?
I'd like to speak on the
Let me get the motion.
I'll make a motion to adopt it.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right, Alderman Gildy.
You know, we've dealt with this situation with below market housing many times. I mean, we're going to be in the situation in this city where we have so many below market rate housing projects that we're going to have some problems. And the police department's going to have to deal with it. The social services is going to have to deal with it. Everyone's going to have to deal with it. And financially, it's going to be right on this city to take care of the problems. You can look through this city and you know, can you name 5 large, over 64 units, which is what this is, can you name 5 64 units or more that are market rate? Can you name 5? Okay? I bet you can't. Because I can't. I mean, you know, people don't know about, a lot of people don't, Indian Hills apartments, below market rate percentage. Okay? Lakewood apartments, below market rate percentage. The Les Marquis situation was a good percentage mix. They were redoing the apartments. Alderman Vestal made a really good statement about how long it took for that to happen. Now, they may have, in 15 years, they may intend to do that if they still own them at the time. Okay? If they still own those apartments at the time and are still, they may intend to do that. But I say to you, look at how many times these apartments have been bought and sold, and somebody from Texas coming up here and doing nothing, and then finally coming back and wanting to put more below market rate in there. Yes, it's a financing vehicle, and that's why they want to do it. But those people that live on Scenic Hill, they need to understand what's going on. And I don't know if they do or not. But I've talked to many realtors in this city who are really thinking about what's going on up here, and are we going to be known as the below market rate city per capita, you know, as opposed to a city that might be bigger. You know, I don't know what those numbers are. I mean, I can't tell you that I know the numbers per capita of what our below market rate housing is. But we could keep on and on and on, and it wouldn't be a good situation for our infrastructure, much less, you know, well, as far as the services that we provide, you know, from police and fire and everything. So, you know, I just don't think it's good. I think that we have plenty housing there. We have the housing authority. I remember when this situation come up on I can't remember where it was. Well, it was on Camp Robinson at 47th Street. And I believe that Mr. Baxter was at the Housing Authority at the time. And that Housing Authority, they're not full. And what do we have? How did we clean that up? We put police officers in there at our expense and the Housing Authority's expense. And that's why we don't have any problems in those below market rate housing. That's why. Are they going to do that if they need to? Now, positive things were said about Pulaski Votech, and I understand that. But as Alderman Vestal also said, is there any way those people can be given, can they get them first? No, there's not. So while, yes, they'll be available for those students, there's no guarantee. Most likely, it's going to be the new place on the block, and if you're at an older one, you're going to run up there. Most likely, if you're at the Housing Authority, you're going to come up there. That's exactly what's going to happen. That's what I would do.
Or the other side.
The government's going to pay your rent anyway. So, that's how I feel about it. I think we really need to take a look at what we're doing to the city, and the stress that this could put on the infrastructure and our emergency services, law enforcement, things like that. It's nothing against what they're trying to do as far as being in business and making money. It's just we need to look, at where we are, and I will do some numbers and see where we are per capita on low-income housing. But I know that the Housing Authority is not full. I know that Eastgate's not full, and Silver City Courts and those places, they are not full. So that being the case, I just can't go for this, and I just don't think it helps us. And that's all I have to say.
Let me just make a comment, and then I'll go ahead and call it for a vote. First of all, everyone that will live in these apartments, I assume, has to have employment.
Absolutely, and a criminal background check also.
And the second thing, if I can call attention to the council, the next 3 items that are on the agenda, and that's for us to condemn 3 pieces of property. As we all know, we regularly do that, and people who have jobs need places to live. I agree with Alderman Gibson and what he said with regard to Pulaski Tech. I also agree with Alderman Yielding. There's absolutely no guarantees. There is guarantees that someone will have a job, and there are guarantees that not everybody can afford to live in what might be considered market rate. I don't necessarily subscribe to the theory that that someone who has a job and is struggling to make payments are going to be a drain on the society or on the city. I think that good people who are working hard. Unfortunately, there are a lot of them in this country that are in jobs that aren't ones that produce enough of a wage to the working poor, I think is what we refer to them. I know the U.S. Conference of Mayors, which I'm an active part of, just recently released an economic study that shows that we are about recovering jobs in this country, but unfortunately those jobs are much more directed toward the service sector, and the employment income is going down rather than the kinds of jobs that we used to have. So we're getting jobs back, but the travel and tourism industry is the big benefactor. So, I don't know that I have a problem with providing housing. I don't, as I said, subscribe to the fact that that working people, if they're not able to make ends meet, are going to be a tax on our police and social services structure. We've got a great structure, and I think we ought to welcome people who are working and are having a difficult time in making ends meet. With that, Ms. Whitby, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Gibson?
Yes.
Yielding?
No.
Robinson?
Yes.
Thomas?
Yes.
Barry?
No.
Vestal?
No.
Height?
Yes.
Witcher?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Motion carries. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next item,
Resolution 0404, Mayor Hayes.
please call it.
A resolution declaring certain buildings, houses, and other structures located at 1605 North Vine in the city of North Little Rock to constitute a public nuisance and condemning said structures, providing a period of time for property owner to abate said nuisance.
I believe this requires a public hearing.
I think, does it require, the microphone's open on 1605 North Vine. Anyone here that would might care to speak on that address, please come to the microphone. Not hearing or seeing anyone coming forward, I'll adjourn the public hearing. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Motion made and seconded. On the motion, Ms. Whitby.
Gibson?
Yes.
Yielding?
Yes.
Robinson?
Yes.
Thomas?
Yes.
Barry?
Yes.
Vestal?
Yes.
Height?
Yes.
And Witcher?
Yes.
Resolution 0405, Mayor Hayes.
Please call it.
A resolution declaring certain buildings, houses, and other structures located at 1620 Locust in the city of North Little Rock constitute a public nuisance and condemning said structures, providing a period of time for property owner to abate said nuisance.
Anyone care to come to the microphone on 1620 Locust? 1620 Locust, public hearing is now declared. Not seeing anyone coming forward, I'll adjourn the public hearing. Do I have a motion?
Second.
Motion made and seconded on the motion, Ms. Whitby.
Gibson?
Yes.
Yielding?
Yes.
Robinson?
Yes.
Thomas?
Yes.
Barry?
Yes.
Vestal?
Yes.
Height?
Yes.
And Witcher?
Yes.
Resolution 0406, Mayor Hayes.
Please call it.
A resolution declaring certain buildings, houses, and other structures located at 201 South Cherry in the city of North Little Rock constitute a public nuisance and condemning said structures, providing a period of time for property owner to abate said nuisance.
We have a public hearing on 201 South Cherry. Anyone wanting to speak on 201 South Cherry, please come to the microphone. Public hearing is open. Not seeing anyone coming forward, I'll adjourn the public hearing. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Motion made and seconded on the motion.
Gibson?
Yes.
Yielding?
Yes.
Robinson?
Yes.
Thomas?
Yes.
Barry?
Yes.
Vestal?
Yes.
Height?
Yes.
And Witcher?
Yes.
Ordinance 0403, Mayor Hayes.
Please call it.
This is an ordinance amending ordinance number 7542, commonly known as the 2003 quota ordinance, first reading.
Move to suspend rules, place ordinance on second reading.
Second. On the motion?
Gibson?
Yes.
Yielding?
Yes.
Robinson?
Yes.
Thomas?
Yes.
Barry?
Yes.
Vestal?
Yes.
Height?
Yes.
And Witcher?
Yes.
An ordinance amending ordinance number 7542, commonly known as the 2003 quota ordinance, second reading.
Move to suspend rules, place ordinance on third reading.
Second. On the motion?
Gibson?
Yes.
Yielding?
Yes.
Robinson?
Yes.
Thomas?
Yes.
Barry?
Yes.
Vestal?
Yes.
Height? And
Yes.
Witcher?
Yes.
An ordinance amending ordinance number 7542, commonly known as the 2003 quota ordinance, third and final reading.
Before I call it for a vote, I just want to point out, where's Chief McCall? That we had anticipated in discussions with the chief that we would have certainly sufficient firefighters to retire, that this temporary addition of firefighters would be, we would be insured of having retirements that would essentially not cause us to basically have more firefighters that we were paying than we have now. And that was in large measure due to the drop plan. The chief informed me during the weekend, we discussed it today, that we do have at least 3 firefighters that will be under the drop plan, but instead of 05, it's 06, that they are going to be mandatory in their retirement. So what this does, it exposes us, if you want to put it that way, to a possibility that if there is 1 or 2 or even 3 firefighters that didn't retire before the mandatory drop plan would take effect, that we could have an additional 3 firefighters should some of the numbers not work out. The chief pointed this out to me with the idea of me withdrawing this if I had a concern, and obviously there is a concern, but I think the possibility that we would have an additional firefighter or 2 should something not work out for not more than a year is enough risk for this community to take financially to support it in assisting the fire department in overcoming, the shortage that we're experiencing now due to military and other reasons. So I am encouraging the council to go ahead, even though for a year perhaps, but not more than, there is some risk that we would be adding an additional firefighter to the payroll. But again, as I mentioned, I don't think that risk, I think the risk is greater than if we shorten the fire department. So with that, if there are any questions?
I had one.
Alderman?
I certainly support it, and I was going to ask him too, are we nearing a time when we might get a new station out on 165 out there in the Rose City area down near Willow Beach?
We definitely need one out there. It's all money driven right now, though, Mayor.
I guess I was asleep. Maybe we should have put that in that bond ordinance that we just passed to do that.
Unfortunately, that bond ordinance was for, the fire station is not nearly the concern in terms of us being able to support that. The fire station probably is the minimum part of it. It's the 12
12 firefighters it takes to open a station.
12 firefighters it would take to open a station, Alderman. So it's the ongoing costs that concern us, not the capital cost at this point, and that's what we addressed in the bond issue. Alderman Berry?
Even if it were for a year, isn't it prudent that we have some people that are already on board and trained and ready to go if we lose any more to the military?
Correct. The idea is to have trained people once we do experience this large number of retirements we're anticipating in 2006, and this will help alleviate some of that.
Yeah, and we wouldn't be recommending that we go forward if we didn't think it was worth the, as I said, the potential risk that the risk is greater if we don't, in my mind. Any other comments?
Is this kind of like recruiting to a basketball team? We've only got so many scholarships to give, but we're going to go over the limit and recruit, hoping things work out down the road.
Well, they're going to work out. We're going to make sure they work out.
They will work out, but great analogy.
Let's just get a motion for adoption.
I want to move it for it to be adopted.
Motion made and seconded to adopt on third and final. Ms. Whitby?
Gibson.
Yes.
Yielding.
Yes.
Robinson.
Yes.
Thomas.
Yes.
Barry. Vestal.
Yes.
Height.
Yes.
And Witcher.
Yes.
On the emergency, Gibson.
Yes.
Yielding.
Yes.
Robinson.
Yes.
Thomas.
Yes.
Barry.
Yes.
Vestal.
Yes.
Height.
Yes.
And Witcher.
Yes.
Ordinance 0404, Mayor Hayes.
Please call it.
This is an ordinance creating the North Little Rock Redevelopment District Number 1, first reading.
Let's go ahead and take that to third if I can.
Suspend rules, place on second reading.
Second.
On the motion?
Gibson.
Yes.
Yielding.
Yes.
Robinson.
Yes.
Thomas.
Yes.
Barry.
Yes.
Vestal.
Yes.
Height.
Yes.
And Witcher.
Yes.
An ordinance creating the North Little Rock Redevelopment District Number 1, second reading.
Move the rules, place the ordinance on its
Second.
On the motion?
Gibson.
Yes.
Yielding.
Yes.
Robinson.
Yes.
Thomas.
Yes.
Barry.
Yes.
Vestal.
Yes.
Height.
Yes.
And Witcher.
Yes.
An ordinance creating the North Little Rock Redevelopment District Number 1, third and final reading.
Before I call it for a vote, Mr. Larson, I know you and I talked about this. You asked me to bring this legislation before the council, and you want to help us make sure that I can explain it?
Sure, Mayor. Thank you. I apologize. I meant to have a map from Robert's department outlining the proposed redevelopment district number 1. It's pretty self-evident by the description. It's the Jackson Cookie Company and the Altel parking lot from the interstate to the Union Pacific Railroad track. And what it is our attempt, the EDC, the city, the Altel Arena Board, the county, to control what happens to the, or influence somewhat what happens to the Jackson Cookie property. And we have no particular plans, but the way we can influence is once a district is, we have a public hearing, and once a district is created, it's charged with coming up with a project plan for that area. In coming up with a project plan, it seems to me in reading the redevelopment law that that's how we can influence and possibly even control what goes on down there. At this point, there's no intention of creating a tax increment district for financing of any projects that would go there. But some of the projects that are already have been discussed, of course, the Maritime Museum, additional parking for Altel Arena. We've heard this afternoon that the Sports Hall of Fame may have some interest in that area also.
Let me mention this. Part of the law, as I understand it, and you correct me, Mr. City Attorney or Mr. Larson, is that we have a public hearing on this before we can act on it. So it's not my intent to call this for a vote tonight. It would be my intent to call a public hearing and then to offer that public hearing at the next council meeting subsequent to Alderwoman Robinson's hearing, and then call it for a possible vote before the council at that time. Alderman Gibson.
Mayor, I think, and I've never been through one of these, so this is all brand new, but I believe that we also have to notify the property owners, which would be, in this case, it's the Altel parking lot. That would be one landowner. And the Bakelite, or whoever the corporation is that owns this property, they need to be notified of the public hearing.
We already have a letter going to the trustee of the bankruptcy court, or of the property.
Because it gets a little more complicated when you're in bankruptcy.
Right.
And I mean, I agree with what we're trying to do. I just want to try to make sure we do it right before we get down the road and found out that.
And the other thing we need to do, and I'll meet with the assessor's office shortly, we have to notify all the taxing entities in the district, even though we don't plan on doing anything with their tax revenues. We still, the mayor will still have to notify them by letter.
Well, Mr. Susky, can you work with Mr. Larson to make sure that we dot whatever i's we need to dot, depending on what we decide to do?
Yeah, we will. We were discussing that this afternoon. That's correct. We have to give 15 days notice in the paper and a formal written letter, and he's already taken care of half of that, so we'll get that resolved.
His office.
Give me your direction so that if we discuss this at the next council meeting and have a public hearing, are we then prepared to vote? So I agree with Alderman Gibson. I don't know that I recall doing one of these before.
It's called number one.
I think it'll be the
District number one. We've never done one before.
Yeah, I think this will be the first in Arkansas, actually.
All right.
And bring as an
It's
attachment
first in
a map
Arkansas.
for this district.
Wants an attachment of Alderman Berry wants a map to attach to it, so let's do that too.
My fault.
Any other questions or comments? Then I'll hold this legislation. I'll call that public hearing for
February 9th.
7:05 plus after Alderwoman Robinson's. Anything else, Mr. Larson?
No, thank you very much.
Next item.
Ordinance 0405, Alderman Thomas.
Call it, please.
This is an ordinance allowing a special use for a daycare in the C3 zone for certain real property located at 305 East Bethany Road in the city of North Little Rock, Arkansas. First reading.
I'd like to move it to rules be suspended, put on a second reading.
Second. Is there a second?
Second.
On the motion?
Gibson.
Yes.
Yielding.
Yes.
Robinson.
Yes.
Thomas.
Yes.
Barry.
Yes.
Vestal.
Yes.
Height.
Yes.
And Witcher.
Yes.
An ordinance allowing a special use for a daycare in the C3 zone for certain real property located at 305 East Bethany Road in the city of North Rock, Arkansas. Second reading.
Again, move that the rules be suspended and placed on third reading.
Second.
On the motion?
Gibson.
Yes.
Yielding. Robinson.
Yes.
Thomas.
Yes.
Barry.
Yes.
Vestal.
Yes.
Height.
Yes.
And Witcher.
Yes.
An ordinance allowing a special use for a daycare in the C3 zone for certain real property located at 305 East Bethany Road in the city of North Rock, Arkansas. Third and final reading.
Alderman Gibson?
I guess I got the same question on 05, 06, and 07, because I don't recall ever seeing this. Item 2, upon proper 24-hour notice to the applicant, the North Little Rock Code or Zoning Enforcement shall be provided access to the property during regular business hours to ensure compliance with all terms of the permit. I'm not sure that's what we want to happen. I mean, if they're authorized to have 20 children there and they have 30, we tell them the day ahead of time, we're coming tomorrow at noon. They'll have 20 there. I mean, this is
Attorney or Mr. Wolf, is there a reason? I don't know that.
We had a
I
case
agree.
where an operator refused a code officer's entry. We believe that we have right of entry on all of these, especially special use case, but this is to give notice to the applicant that they will, and you may change it if you disagree with the line. But
I think so. I would have to agree with Alderman Gibson. I think that if we have concern about the proper operation of the facility, that we ought to have immediate entry to essentially a business open for business.
this would include our health officer, and I don't think we need to be given notice. I don't think that we need to do that at all. I just think it needs to say we can take that whole section out.
Does DHS...
Wait. We're getting a little out of control here. Alderman Gibson has the floor.
I'm through.
All right. Now, Alderman Thomas.
Well, this is the suggestion of the Planning Department, Planning Commission. Is that where that come from, Mr. Boyles?
I think this was staff's suggestion of
Staff.
a way to solve the problem.
Okay. And you're satisfied with that?
I'm happy with it taken out. I think we have right of entry.
I think we do.
I think
too.
we
don't
can
wanna
go
wait.
into
Okay.
the
Why don't
property.
we hear a motion?
I'll make that motion that we strike the, under section 2, number 2.
Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion on the motion to amend by striking the notice requirement, the 24-hour notice requirement on the motion.
Gibson.
Yes.
Yielding.
Yes.
Robinson.
Yes.
Thomas.
I guess that's fine.
Barry.
Yes.
Vestal.
Yes.
Height.
Yes.
And Witcher.
Yes.
All right, now do I have, where are we?
It's been read 3 times and amended.
You want to just go ahead and give us a motion for adopt this amendment?
I'd like to have it adopted as amended, and we have Ms. Beasley here, I think, if you have questions.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
All right, discussion,
I wanted to ask if Miss Beasley is here. I'd like to ask her a couple of questions.
Beasley?
Miss Beasley, is this the first time that you've applied to operate a daycare?
No, sir, it's not.
What experience do you have in operating daycares?
I'm currently a owner of a daycare in Southwest Little Rock.
And for how many years is that?
This is the 2nd year.
Okay. Second year?
Yeah.
Okay. How many, you plan on having, how many children?
They told me at the last meeting the city would say 30, but they would be willing to talk about it when DHS come out and they actually measure the property and tell you how many kids you're allowed to have according to the size of the property. And then they may or may not change the number, as I believe it was 30 is what I was told in the last meeting.
Okay. This, under Section 2 of this ordinance, it requires that you do certain things. One, an asphalt curb be installed, a play area be established, a 6-foot opaque fence be installed, a safety gate installed, a surface be installed for the play area to meet Arkansas DHS standards. Number 8, repaint and reline a parking lot, and then of course your hours of operation are 6 to 7, and the maximum number of children is 30. The things that require construction or addition or painting or so forth, have you done those things?
No, we wouldn't do anything until we were approved or not approved. We didn't want to spend any money on the building until we knew whether or not we were going to be approved to have it.
Okay, and Mr. Boyles, does the Planning Commission plan on a site review and to make sure that monitor that these things are taken care of?
Yes, we've initiated a program of doing that. We're doing that each month now for the last 2 years, looking at the month previous years.
Okay, so we have, once we've approved these special uses, then the Planning Commission has indeed checked to make sure that they have complied with the ordinances. Is that correct?
Yes, but we can, like I said, we can enter any of these at any time. The fire department reviews them several times a year. The health department's reviewing, and the mayor's appointed a task force to review the daycare issue, and you may be seeing a lot more of these in the near future to pick out some that have escaped DHS's zoning requirements.
Okay, around the daycare, this particular daycare, Mr. Boyles, are there any other establishments that daycares cannot be close to, or should not be close to?
No. I don't believe so.
Okay, I mean, as far as the adjacent businesses or no halfway houses or anything like that?
No.
Okay. And Miss Beasley, is it your knowledge that you are required to pay a privilege tax in the city of North Little Rock to operate a daycare?
I'm sorry, I didn't understand.
Is it your knowledge that you are to pay a privilege tax to operate a daycare in the city of North Little Rock?
Yes.
And have you made application for that privilege tax?
No, not at this time.
Thank you.
I wouldn't expect her to until we approve
Just
this.
making
Alderman
our way.
Thomas?
No, I'm just going to say, I know that I was out there today, and the closest neighbor said that they couldn't see anybody would oppose what you're trying to do. So I think they're all for what you're trying to do.
Any further discussion? Alderman, you want to go ahead and just make the motion?
Yes, I do.
Motion to approve on
To adopt.
adopt as amended on third and final. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Ms. Whitby?
Gibson?
Yes.
Yielding? Robinson?
Yes.
Thomas?
Yes.
Barry?
Yes.
Vestal?
Yes.
Height?
Yes.
Witcher?
Yes.
On the emergency, Gibson?
Yes.
Yielding? Robinson?
Yes.
Thomas?
Yes.
Barry?
Yes.
Vestal?
Yes.
Height?
Yes.
And Witcher?
Yes.
Ordinance 0406, Alderwoman Robinson.
Please call it.
This is an ordinance allowing special use for a daycare in a commercial building in a C3 zone for certain real property located at 4522 Lynch Drive in the city of North Little Rock. First reading.
Go ahead and take that third, and if we could, then we'll do the same amendment. I assume that's what we want to do.
Right.
Hear a motion by Alderman Robinson, suspend the rules and place it on second. Is there a second?
Second.
Mayor, I want to discuss it before we get to the third.
All right, well, then that's fine.
This one's a little different than the ones we traditionally do.
Okay, then let's just go ahead and vote on suspend the rules, then we'll talk about it. On the motion?
Gibson?
Yes.
Yielding?
Yes.
Robinson?
Yes.
Thomas?
Yes.
Barry?
Yes.
Vestal?
Yes.
Height?
Yes.
And Witcher?
Yes.
An ordinance allowing a special use for a daycare in a commercial building in a C3 zone for certain real property located at 4522 Lynch Drive in the city of North Little Rock, Arkansas. Second reading.
Alderman Gibson.
I guess to start off, this is probably the first one I've ever seen that we did on a paved parking lot. Because if I understand, the entire property around this building is paved. And so it's very difficult to create a playground unless someone's willing to go in and dig up that asphalt and build it. This happened to be, I don't think this is the post office, it's the building next door to it, I believe.
It's in the shopping center.
Yeah.
It's my understanding that they're going to bring in some type of material to place on the asphalt for the playground.
I have a question.
Robert?
Walls.
Is the applicant here?
I don't see the applicant here.
We may want to hold on this one. There is
Okay.
great opposition to
Can
it,
we hold
but
this one
also
so we can try to work out these things?
they
I have a
contended that
question
they're
also.
going to use asphalt as a true
Okay,
play area.
Okay, I was thinking that they were going to, put out some type of material or something.
We discussed that at the Planning Commission, and DHS, they've informed us that they were going to use it because of temporary play or something like that.
Call it what now?
After-school play.
Oh, it's a before and after school program.
Yeah.
But since
But I'd like
Alderman
the
Robinson's
applicant to
holding
be-
that,
Well, we can hold it.
Just,
let's.
can I have
go
one
ahead.
question?
Excuse me,
One question about this.
Alderman, go ahead.
Didn't we approve this a year or so ago at this
Yes.
same location?
Another provider.
Okay,
It
so
was
it's a new
closed.
owner.
This is a new.
That didn't provide the playground, that didn't, I mean, I think it's time that we make these people who put in these understand on the front side what's expected of them. It's a new day. We said this back in December.
Right.
We're going to look at each one of these, and they have certain rules and regulations they need to comply with, and bringing in and putting sawdust or wood chips on top of asphalt is not an acceptable surface. And it's just, there's some other problems probably involved in this in regard to access, but rarely do we vote to put a daycare center in a shopping center.
Well, one of the things I think that we could probably include in that new day rule is to make sure, Mr. Boyles, that the applicant knows that on these daycare centers, that they need to be present when their legislation is being considered, or there's a good likelihood that it may not move forward. Number one, and number two, I know that Alderman Vestal asked me this afternoon to check on an address from our code department, and I don't know, did Mr. Wadley talk to you? And we are getting, I think one of the things we run into in the past, the problem is that DHS will grant a permit, and then someone will go about doing what they think they're entitled to do under that permit. I don't know how clear DHS makes it that they also have a city requirement that they have to fulfill. We are in the process of getting the permits that have been issued by DHS. Our code department are going to be checking every one of them to ensure that they don't operate unless they have the proper city permits. So we're, I agree with Alderman Gibson. We are making sure that there's a new day here in this city. I'm sorry that this day has been this long in coming, and I appreciate Alderwoman Robinson and suggesting that those applicants make sure that they're here when we do these centers, discuss them in the future. Or I know that I will be very reluctant to support anyone when someone's not present and can hear the intent of the council. Alderman Thomas.
And we do have people here that are concerned about that. Do you want to hear them tonight? Because they might not have a chance to. Or do you want to wait?
She may not even call it. I don't know. So.
I'm going to hold it to the next.
Yeah, I would prefer, Alderman, to wait until we actually have the legislation that is going to recognize it's going to be called. So with that, next. I'm sorry.
Well, I'd like for us to at least clean up that section 2 too. No matter how far this goes, make sure that that's already done, and we don't forget to do that.
I'll take that as a motion to amend.
I'll second it.
There's a motion made, second on the motion to amend by amending the section about notice. Ms. Whitby?
Gibson?
Yes.
Yielding?
Yes.
Robinson?
Yes.
Thomas?
Yes.
Barry?
Yes.
Vestal?
Yes.
Height?
Yes.
And Witcher?
Yes.
All right, now the next item.
Ordinance 0407, Alderwoman Robinson.
This is an ordinance allowing the special use for a daycare in an R4 zone for certain real property located at 2411 East 2nd Street in the city of North Little Rock, Arkansas. First reading.
Move to suspend the rules and place on the second reading.
Is there a second to that motion?
Second.
On the motion to suspend, Ms. Whitby?
Gibson.
Yes.
Yielding. Yielding.
Yes.
Robinson.
Yes.
Thomas.
Yes.
Barry.
Yes.
Vestal.
Yes.
Height.
Yes.
Witcher.
Yes.
An ordinance allowing a special use for a daycare in an R4 zone for certain real property located at 2411 East 2nd Street in the city of North Little Rock, Arkansas. Second reading.
Move to suspend the rules, place on the third reading.
Is there a second?
Second.
On the motion?
Gibson.
Yes.
Yielding.
Yes.
Robinson.
Yes.
Thomas.
Yes.
Barry.
Yes.
Vestal.
Yes.
Height.
Yes.
And Witcher.
An ordinance allowing a special use for a daycare in an R4 zone for certain real property located at 2411 East 2nd Street in the city of North Little Rock, Arkansas. Third and final reading.
Before I ask for a vote, I wonder if the applicant's here.
The applicant is
All
here.
right, first of all, let's go ahead and take that out.
The amendment.
So I'll make that motion. That
On
we
the
strike
motion to
that
amend
2 out
by
of 2.
striking the notice requirement, on the motion, Ms. Whitby?
Gibson.
Yes.
Yielding.
Yes.
Robinson.
Yes.
Thomas.
Yes.
Barry.
Yes.
Vestal.
Yes.
Height.
Yes.
And Witcher.
Yes.
Can you state your name, please?
Loretta Hicks.
Ms. Hicks, we appreciate you being here. You are the applicant for this special use that's being considered tonight.
Yes, I am.
And if there's anything you want to say, and then I'll open it for questions from the council.
Yes, first of all, I'd like to say it's not a daycare center, it's a family home. Because I'm only licensed for 10, it's not a center.
Any questions? Alderman Berry?
When you were dealing with DHS and you were getting your permit, your certificate, did they tell you any of the things that you had to do from the city?
And they sure did. I didn't even know that I had to have a permit from the city until I came here. And they said, well, do you have a permit from the city? I said, no, I don't. He said, well, DHS didn't tell you? No, they did not. And then I talked to several other centers, for instance, Miss Beasley and quite a few others. They do not have it because they wasn't aware. So they don't have it.
And then when you went to planning, you found out you also had to have a business permit,
Exactly.
right? Maybe we do need to do something to...
Well, let me communicate with the director of DHS and see whether that's an error or a problem, and if so, how we might try to correct that and work with each other to ensure that both of our requirements are met. That someone doesn't come here and ask for a special use without going to DHS, to get a requirement. So it sounds like we've got certainly a little work to do in this area. Alderman Gibson.
This is an unusual one. Is the alley that you're going to use as an exit, is that a paved alley?
It's gravel.
So this is another unusual thing we've never done. Is that we're going to allow them to drop off alongside their house and then go back to a dedicated alley to exit to go where they're going to. That's another unusual thing because you're going into it's not and you're in the middle of the block if I'm looking right.
I don't think she's in the middle of the block.
She's 3 houses from the end on going this direction and...
You're the second house, aren't you? Right. She's the second house. She owns the vacant lot that's next door, so she's the...
Well, she's second house from that way,
She's the
but
second house.
that's not the way she's exiting. She's exiting to the right. She's not going behind her property. She's going behind the property over there, and this is a lousy aerial, but it looks like it's like most of those alleys that we have in the city. If she owns that lot, why isn't there some way to bring the traffic back onto 2nd Street?
I think did not planning make some suggestions to you as far as...
Going through the alley, because we were going through my driveway and went out, and they suggested that we go through the alley, which didn't make sense to me, but what do I know?
So you're following a professional recommendation of our planning department.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I was going to say, we have 7 affirmative votes following recommendation of the planning department, and these kids, need a place to stay. They don't need to stay at home. They don't need to be home alone. And, we shouldn't treat them any differently. They need a place to stay, and I think the applicant's done everything, and I know Alderman Hyde hadn't interrogated her yet, but I'm sure he will next.
All right.
I have one question before we let Mr. Hyde. Ms. Hicks?
Yeah.
Is the alley going to the south, which is, if you're coming past the house, to the left?
Yes, it is.
Is that fenced off on the end? On that end?
It is.
So you only really have one way out
I have.
for that alley?
Oh, right. I can.
Which is to the right.
Well, the way I was going before they told me I needed to go through the alley was through my driveway and through my property, which is on the other side. So, I don't.
Well, I agree with her. It needs to redirect the plan. And I think we should.
Laws,
I'd like to add a little bit in defense of the Planning Commission. She had established a fenced play area on the second lot. The commission was concerned about kids walking from the backyard across the yard to the play area where cars are driving by. They didn't think that was a safe situation, and they imposed the requirement of this expanded gate system so that, for children's safety. So that was why the Planning Commission did not want cars to be driving through where the children were crossing the yard between the play area and the house. And it may not be the best plan. Of course, this is 10 children in a home, and I think they'll drive out of the driveway back.
Robert, I don't fully understand the problem with the kids and the cars because, the kids would be supervised,
do I hear a motion that we amend the driving portion of this?
I wouldn't attempt to.
I don't believe you can.
All right.
I think what we ought to do is that we allow, the special use doesn't specifically say that you exit through the alley. It says parking and drop-off building in the rear of the property, but I think that's the part that's the problem. I think that they should be able to have an opportunity, is to prove it and just take out number 5 condition and let them work out the parking and drop-off. They're still going to be in the requirement.
Motion?
I'll second that.
All right, on the motion to take out section 5.
Now, 2's already gone, isn't it?
Yeah,
Two's gone.
Two's gone. All right. On the motion to take out 5.
Gibson?
Yes.
Yielding?
Yes.
Robinson?
Yes.
Thomas?
Yes.
Barry?
Yes.
Vestal?
Yes.
Height?
Yes.
And Witcher?
Yes.
Now, that will give planning the opportunity to work it out.
What is that?
I'll second that.
Second,
Question.
the motion to adopt is amended?
Yes.
All right, on the motion.
Gibson?
I'm sorry.
What question?
Height and
I'm not.
He's going to start in.
I don't want to say I'm not anti-daycare centers, okay? I think daycare centers are good businesses, and North Little Rock needs plenty of good businesses. I just have a question as to, is this your first daycare?
No, it isn't.
All right, and so tell me about your experience in operating daycares. How long have you been operating daycare centers?
17 years.
17 years?
Yes.
Do you have other locations here in North Little Rock?
No, I don't. I was operating a daycare center, and then I went to my home because of not finding proper help and so on. So I just went home so that I could supervise with a small group, and I wouldn't need as many employees, which I could not depend on.
So how many employees do you plan on hiring for this daycare?
4.
4? And what qualifications do those employees need to have?
They need their CDA, criminal background check, and fingerprints. Same thing for a center, the same exact thing, but it's just a smaller group.
So if I were to call over to DHS, what would DHS say about you operating daycare centers?
They would say, well, go ahead on. Ms. Hicks has been operating for 17 years, no complaints.
Thank you very much.
On the motion.
Gibson?
Yes.
Yielding?
Yes. He really thought becoming a lawyer.
Robinson?
Yes.
Thomas?
Yes.
Barry?
Yes.
Vestal?
Yes.
Height?
Yes.
And Witcher?
Yes.
On the emergency, Gibson?
Yes.
Yielding?
Yes.
Robinson?
Yes.
Thomas?
Yes.
Barry?
Yes.
Vestal?
Yes.
Height?
Yes.
And Witcher?
Yes.
Does that do it, Ms. Whitney?
Yes, sir.
With public comment. Thank you very much. Your legislation passed.
Thank you.
Council?
Mr. Mayor,
Thomas?
there may be some people here this evening that would like to sell flowers for 3 days, I think, up at the Lakewood, in the Lakewood area for the I guess, the Fountain Days. Is there anyone here that would speak to that? They called me today, and I told them I really didn't know anything about the rules on that.
Hello, I'm Lisa Beckwith from New Life Pentecostal Church, and thanks for your time. We're requesting permission to operate a flower rose stand in Lakewood Village, February 12th, 13th, and 14th. And this is our first year. Last year we worked with a lady who came from out of state and did it. And she's not doing it this year, and we're doing it on our own. And we weren't aware that we should have applied for a permit several months ago, because we're doing 2 stands in Little Rock, and you just walk in their office and get a permit. So we didn't realize that it took as long to get one. We called to get a permit, and they told us we didn't have time. So,
Mr. Susky, Mr. Voyles, can you help me with this? I didn't,
Yes, we treat this as a special use. It was an issue brought before the Planning Commission last year after the Valentine. Several florists, several of your aldermen may know, have objected to these temporary stands setting up in competition with established florists. And the Planning Commission held a hearing on it and recommended that staff treat these under special use. And this one came in after we have to have a 15-day notice to do a procedure special use permit, and we didn't have the time to do that. So she's appealing to you tonight, asking for that.
Asking for a waive?
Ability to sell roses.
Yeah, Alderman Gibson.
Aren't roses a flower? Doesn't roses fit under our the same place as a person who sells produce? I think that, and it's not a matter of a zoning issue. Property zoned Z3, a flower shop can go in a C3. I don't see the problem. I think that she should be given that temporary permit that we issue for the person who's going to sell produce up in Lakewood Village on a regular basis.
I presented that argument, and they rejected my argument. People do not eat roses here very often, but you can.
Tell you what, I got an idea. Mr. Susky, would you tell us your opinion on what Mr. Voyles ought to do? And we respect the Planning Commission, but we also respect your advice too. So give us an idea as to whether or not Alderman Gibson's approach is one that you support, or one that we have to do something from a legislative standpoint at this council.
Okay, we'll do that, Mayor. And obviously, I think we'll have time before Valentine's Day to get a city council meeting in.
Okay, we're working on it. We're confused, as you might imagine, as to what we can do, but we're going to try to be responsive. Alderman Gibson, Alderman
Well,
Thomas.
let me ask you one other question. Can you eat a Christmas tree?
Can you eat a Christmas tree?
I've never eaten.
I mean, if a Christmas tree can be sold in that parking lot, why can't a flower be sold? I mean, we're sitting in a situation, we allow a person to set up a stand within there. And we have a section in our zoning that allows it. We have a section in our permit process that allows it. And so, I am not the city attorney, and I don't intend to be. I just think that, the argument that you don't eat roses, you don't eat Christmas trees, I don't eat rudabakers, but people sell rudabakers up there too.
I don't know that I disagree with you, Alderman, and I think our city attorney will come to a sensible conclusion, and if it's not sensible, then he'll tell us how to pass some legislation to deal with that. Alderman Thomas?
I'll just tell your pastor we're going to try our best to do it, so you don't have to go get a third one in Little Rock City.
Okay, do we need to just contact y'all back?
Tell you what, dude, you leave your name and telephone number with our city attorney right here. We'll work with him, and he may be able to work with our permit department based on his opinion, and we may short circuit this council. If not, then he'll work with you.
I don't think it's as simple as can you eat it or not, okay? I mean, we're talking business. I mean, if I was Terry Hartwick, I'd get back down here. We're talking businesses, and businesses set up in this town, whether they're a florist or a electronics store, and they pay privilege fees and to do business, and they're here, and then other people come in regardless of who's doing it, they come in at certain times and then compete against them for little or nothing as far as their permit fees and what they do. And so that's what we're looking at here. And forest is a problem where this happens a lot, where they just come in and compete against our businesses that are here, and sometimes they don't attempt to get any permit. But I mean, that's the whole reason for this discussion. So.
And I think what part of the florists were saying is these were out-of-state businesses. These were businesses that thrive off this, that were coming in and getting a $15 permit, and these people were paying a business license to be operating. They have to pay so much per month for how many cut flowers they bring to their shop.
That's right.
And it was kind of an unfair advantage.
And it still is.
3 days.
Yeah,
and I understand that the church
3 days you sell most of your flowers
for more charitable organizations, and I understand that. But I mean, you still have to understand how some of these businesses feel.
That's right.
Any more comments from the council?
Yes.
Alderman Vestal.
Robert,
Yes, sir.
how many churches in this city sell Christmas trees?
Of course, we've...
Do they all have a permit?
That's been a tradition here of allowing Christmas tree sales under seasonal display, seasonal sales.
Okay.
And
but churches, are all the churches zone C3?
no, churches can be from R2, and we have a few in industrial areas. Of course, cities can't zone property to restrict assembly anymore, freedom of religion. So.
Alderman Gibson?
Thank you.
I'm sorry.
Chief McCall still here? Chief, one of the things that we got into and it was kind of really interesting is to, as we were working in the area, the south of the Kroger store at Pershing and 27th or whatever, we were trying to call in complaints on particular areas, and we found a tremendous amount of houses that didn't have house numbers on them. And I know that y'all do a very good job of working that, but that's an area particular there that because, and occasionally have one has a wrong house number on it.
Yes, sir. I believe you have an ordinance that it's required 3-inch numbers that are visible from the street, and
Well,
6-inch in commercial.
But I also realize that y'all made a good, strong effort out in the community to get that done.
Yes, sir.
Perhaps maybe when it warms up, we can make that again.
Yes, sir. And we're
particularly-
available to help put numbers up for the elderly that might not be able
Well,
to.
this is probably houses that the numbers were up and they were intentionally taken down.
Could be.
And so
But
I'd
we're-
appreciate if we would look at that.
Anything we can do to help find these addresses, we want to help.
Any other comments? Microphone's open. Please come and identify yourself and let us know what your thoughts are.
Mayor Hayes and City Council members, my name is Tuesday DePel, and I live at 301 West 5th Street. I've lived in the Argenta Historic District for about 7 years now, and I'm just asking for your support for the legislation on parking in the front yards. Argenta has pumped about $11 million into our area, and I know it's aesthetic, but when I put my money into my house, my neighbor parks in the front yard, it's not aesthetic. And we're trying to get more people to move in there, to put their money in, and I just think it'd be good legislation. It'd be good business dealings with the people in the neighborhood. And
Yeah, I might mention we are going to have a public hearing
Right.
next week on our next council meeting on
Correct.
this, and
I'll be
I
back.
think one of the main concerns our city attorney's raised, and he hopefully will have some answers, is whether or not we can do this within the district and not apply it citywide.
Right, and that's what we want as a historic district in our boosters for Better Downtown. We just want to contain it to the historic district and not make it a citywide because, different issues in different neighborhoods.
And what we're worried about is whether or not we have the legal authority to do that, and he'll answer that hopefully within the next several weeks.
Great.
Thank you very much.
Hi, my name is Scott Miller. I am now co-president of Downtown Boosters. Once again, I want to encourage you to look at the parking issue really hard. It is an issue that has been brought up, and I've been reading the minutes since I've been co-president, about every other year for the last 6 or 8 years down there. The original ordinance was passed in '87, clearly in section 2 of it, talks about promoting the beauty, encourages the aesthetics and other things down there in downtown. And it also levies fines for not complying with certain items, including getting certificates of, I forget the exact word, appropriateness, excuse me, for that. Also, many people who live in the historic district can't do a storm door, can't change their storm door, can't change storm windows, can't change the color of paint on their houses, can't screen in their front porches. Lots of little things that they have sacrificed in order for the beauty of that neighborhood. And it just seems to me that parking in the yards should be one of those things. And as a matter of fact, in the current guidelines, in 2 different sections in the guidelines, it says no front yard parking. It's been part of the guidelines since 1987. When we talked with Sandra Taylor Smith about it, she says it just can't be enforced because it's not part of the ordinance. So the question is, it's part of the guidelines. We can't do paint. It just seems crazy that we can't stop people from parking in these yards. I have some photographs if you want to look at them later of people parking in yards. Some of the yards are mud holes because of people parking in yards. People have busted water meters out because they've been driving over them. These are not people driving in their curb cuts. They're blocking sidewalks. They're selling boats in their front yards, which may or may not already be a violation. I don't know. But it just seems like we've invested a lot. My block alone, I encourage you to come down and drive through at night. My block alone, since I've moved in, there is over $1 million in investment happening. 15 new people are moving in within 2 houses of where I am, counting myself. So just in the little block of between 5th on 5th Street, in between Maple and Orange and right around the corner. So 15 new people by October in that little block moving in. And they're coming down there because of the neighborhood and the historic nature of it. And I encourage you to find a way to make this happen, Mr. Attorney.
We appreciate it. Thank you for being a part of our community, and we all are very proud of the boosters.
Thank you.
And we're going to work real hard to see what we can do as a council. Appreciate being here, and we'll be dealing with this perhaps with legislation next council meeting.
Thank you. We'll be back.
Mayor?
Before I go on, I know Ms. Whitby, our city clerk, has asked me to ensure that everyone be aware that on Friday, February the 6th, is National Wear Red Day for Women in supporting heart disease and indicating to all of those who have been touched by heart disease. I would encourage all of us to honor or try to remember that day, Friday, and to be aware that wearing red signifies either whether it be a dress or a shirt or a hat or some other item, that we're supporting all women who have been touched by heart disease. I also want to call your attention, although again it's several months away, that the annual Heart Walk, which we've hosted for the last several years, the city's been a very strong participant, and want to thank our city clerk, Ms. Whitby, for inspiring a lot of that participation. We'll be on the North Shore again on April 24th. So please, on Friday the 6th, wear red if you can think about it, and mark April 24th for the annual Heart Walk. Ms. Whitby, you have anything else you want to add?
I just think a lot of people are not aware of how many women are affected by heart disease. A lot more women than men die because they ignore the symptoms. They seem to think that maybe the pain or whatever else they're having is just something involved with being female, and it's not. And they really need to be more aware of the problems and pay attention to those signs. That's all.
Microphone's still open.
Good evening. My name is James Ard, and I know what heart disease can do because I just lost my close friend. She had 3 or 4 heart attacks, and one of them she had St. Vincent's refused her help for over 12 minutes. So I know what heart disease can be, and I would encourage everybody to support it. First, I'd like to thank Alderman Yielding for standing up for us that have property and how he felt about the new development. I appreciate that very much. Also, we'd like to compliment the Senior Citizen Center. Some of my neighbors are going to it. They're very pleased with it. I know Alderman Thomas is not fond of that, But I wished he had learned to like that thing, because that's a very good cause up there. I wasn't for spending that much money for the city at first, but it's an excellent cause. Also, I'd like to mention it, I don't know if the aldermen know it, but 0406, I think there's a halfway house right in that area. So y'all might want to think about that. Then I have one concern. I'd like to see y'all try to help the school, North Little Rock school system. The Bass Pro Shop is great. We need it. I didn't mention this last time because we had so much on the agenda. But I like y'all to find out ways to help the North Little Rock school system since we're taking money away from them. I know I spoke to one of you sitting up there, and the statement was made that they can't miss what they don't have. I agree with that statement. But somehow find some way to help them in other areas. I know we just help them with the field, but find out something else we can do. I urge all of y'all to think about that and see what you can do to help the North Little Rock school system. Thank you, sir.
Robinson.
He mentioned a halfway house on 2nd Street.
No. The one you...
0406? Okay, the halfway house, that's Lynch Drive?
Yes.
Where is the half?
The halfway house is part of the Methodist Church. There's Sunday school rooms. There's already been a ticket given to the bishop there. This afternoon, there was a lot of lottery. They're walking up between the buildings. Shirley and I, as we were coming over here, we seen about 6 or 8 of them. Couldn't make up their mind which way they were going. This is right across the street from the daycare. And this daycare is where it used to be. Does anybody know where Thorne's jewelry shop used to be? Okay, this is part of his shop. There's 2 rooms where this daycare is. One room is 15 by 15 and one is smaller. You're supposed to have 35 square feet per child. If you have a room 15 by 15, you square that off, that'd be 7 kids for 35. That'd be 225 square feet divided by 35, that's 7. So I don't know how in the world they ever got 20 children in there before. The sewage is bad. It's been bad for years. The alley is behind this daycare right now. It's standing in water. There is a, what would you say, about half this room that's fenced in, and it is nothing but asphalt. It looks more like a dog pen. It is not a suitable, there's a junkyard right behind it. Cans, I don't know what's in the cans that Mr. Daniels keeps over there. Weeds, he doesn't keep any of it up. It's just not a I was in business for 31 years and I worked real hard. And we all make mistakes, but we don't go into it being mistakes. The sewerage is not good there. I have known whenever Hosteds had that whole shopping center that the sewer would overrun into the Presbyterian Church on Roger Street. There are plenty and plenty of places, a better facility to take care of children than a place where they have had shootings, they've had a meth lab. It's too much traffic. There's a video shop there that sells movies that I wouldn't go in and get.
Well, I think it's up for next council meeting,
Yes,
if I'm
it
not
is.
mistaken. So, we
It's up for
appreciate
next
your
meeting.
comments, and we'll look very closely at it.
I want to ask Robert a question. Robert, the halfway house that's across the street, is it zoned for that?
No, they were contacted and they're going before the municipal judge next week. Next week.
There is also one on water and Lynch, 600 block.
There are 2 halfway houses?
Check it out. Mr. Boyle, Mr. Watley.
I will do that with code.
Thank you very much. I know my granddaughter was supposed to have started watching this meeting. I don't know if she still is. If she is, Savannah Lou, on behalf of you, Papa's on his way home, I hear a motion.
So moved.
On the motion.
Gibson. Yielding. Robinson. Thomas. Barry. Vestal. Pike.
Yes.
And Witcher.